Hello, class. So, my presentation is the AI and human redefining boundaries. So, a few of the areas that we're going to be talking about in this presentation is what is art and how was it defined and how it changed a little bit over time. Another going into the same area is the art now then into like a nowish area where art has overall changed in general using different versions of technology. Now we're at an AI technology's advancement in the human department. Again, thoughts of, especially in the AI, of good and bad, where some people have the good interpretations of the AI and some of the bad interpretations of AI. And then just in general of the AI, artificial intelligence, in most areas. So a quick understanding of the basics of the art that we're going to be talking about is in cave drawings or in Egyptian drawings or a lot of time cultures that were in that time period, even though it's art today and it wasn't always technically art back then, we still see some of the same items that we would normally today of and consider the art form. They still had colors, like we had the Egyptian blues that was made. They also had red and white that was made. And that is shown through those art forms that they still have some coloring on them too at this day, where we now consider them art. In the Middle Ages / Renaissance, even to the Victorian era, they also made it their own color. It was a very expensive color. They made a few colors, but they really had oil paint. Now, oil paints were a huge development, and that's what most, if not all, very traditional art paintings that we know of today were made from. Oil paint is still huge. They still have colors being made today in the painting area, which is like the new black from MIT or even a new blue that was made like 200 years after they started creating colors. We had other paints being made in like the 1940s, which was like the acrylics and a lot of the made paint, much cheaper. And those are more all for the traditional, what we consider, for the most part, art. What a lot of people consider art is going into like a museum and seeing physical, done by handmade, someone created it. The Industrial Revolution era really kind of started to change where we get more technology and a little bit less art being made, but in the, again, more traditional like paint style ways. It has less drawings, it has less paint, which is what most people considered at the time, or even still today, sometimes people consider art as being made by one of the main traditional art forms, like the drawing, the paintings, sketches, etc. In the Industrial Revolution, they started to change what art actually is. It was said in one of the videos that it even mentioned that there was a guy who said this is art, and it was just a bicycle wheel connected to a stool. And they questioned at the time, is that art? Because again, they weren't really changing their perspective on what art could and is. Is it art? It is to the person who wants it to be. Anybody who sees it and thinks it's art, it's art. Other people might be like, no, it's not art because it's not that creative, it's just different. And then illustration to filmed and published work. Again, most of the Industrial Revolution has started to change really how art is perceived. Even if we go with one of the most famous art, I guess it's not a painting, it's more a collection of still frames made from ink presses, but the Marilyn Monroe one, Andrew Hall. That is not even a painting, if you want to be in the technical sense of what art is, but they accepted art because it was a creative area. Now, even in that, it's taken the technology at the time, which is printing, and making different layers of colors for each of the uh, squares that I had for her faces in different times, and then put them together. And if you're wondering why that's art and then the bicycle on the chair isn't, nobody can say. Why is one greater than the other? So, what is art at this point is what the Industrial Revolution is coming into. A continuation of the what is art. When we were just talking about what is art, we were understanding where the main original thoughts were, and then where it really started to change during the Industrial Revolution when we got more technology to match what we were doing with that art. Now, if you're going to go with technology in general, airplanes, when airplanes were starting to be invented, they got told, no, that's never going to work. Nobody's going to go for it. It's not going to work. Um, it's one of those ideas that every time someone has an idea and it sounds crazy at the time, not saying it is, they were like, oh, it's never going to work. It's not going to be mainstream. Nobody's going to want to do it. Well, airplanes are one of the most used technologies that we have. Again, same for television. Never going to catch on. It's going to change. And we changed how even television was from then to now, which with my old video. Computers. They were saying, oh, it's not going to work. Nobody's going to want them. Nobody's going to have them. Again, we know that has not been true. Every time there's been a new crazy technology and everybody is against it at first, they realize, oh no, this is what we're at. Which comes into what is art, especially robot made art. Now, the robot is man made. It uses artificial intelligence to be able to create custom creativity art. So it's that art. Is art just a creative, new, valuable, surprising, different way of looking at something? Or is it a very specific way of making it or identifying it? We already know the other technologies to start off with weren't supposed to go anywhere, and they did. Now, with the AI making art, is it changing how we're going to perceive art for overall? Is the art any different than what someone might make art as? In order to create AI, it takes 100+ images to generally create one image. Yeah, sometimes it can take about 1 or 2 overall to get a real AI accurate overall intelligence. It takes about 100 images across everybody and all technology and in all settings. Even in the video of the MOMA, they even talked about the technical culture inside of the AI aspect, where it's making its own cultural evidence based on what it has gathered overall. Again, we have the robotic art, we talked about a little bit before. We're going to get more into it, where robot art is, they were generally creating the art from the robot itself. The robot that had all the artificial intelligence that was inside its eyes were making the art in a traditional sense, where it was actually drawing it from its own mind in a sense. Now, if we go back to what is art, and people are saying, oh, robot art can't be art because it's not made from something that has, I don't want to say so, life experiences. Well, if you, all art, and they said it was creative, and the robot said that her art was creative, it was different, it was new, it was exciting. The thing is, most art, and if a robot can't make art, then almost no art is ever going to be made. And it's not just saying, oh, now AI is 100% the only way to do art. It's just, if the robot AI art can't be art because it's taking collections of other things, like over 100 images, to then create a new image using all the other images. And since that is going to be, quote, uncreative, well, almost no art, almost ever, has been truly 100% new. There's always been some type of inspiration off of it. They're gonna go. There's a everybody has some form of a human body, all famous or living thing outside, to then create their art. If you have life still art, you have the human body art, you have other areas of art, but overall, it's still somewhat of the same concept of I saw something, I'm making that thing. Whether it's change colors or schemes or styles or movements, it's still a representation of something. So if the robot can't have art, or the AI is not art because it's a representation of something it's already seen, well, then all art is. It's nothing going to be new. It's just a reimagination of whatever it is. And AI has an availability in every art movement we've ever had. It has, again, life forms, which we do even in the more painting style arts. It has the mystic versions. It has now influencers, which, yes, a lot of the influencer areas is mostly human based and not really a traditional art form. It's still implied because they're taking different areas and reimagining it to their own creativity. If you see in the background, just think about what you've seen and notice for the next slide. Just a brief area again. If you remember that painting from the picture before this, the one at the very, whatever, I can't describe it. The one in the very beginning is a different watercolor painting I did that I put into Photoshop and collaborated them. I took that because I wanted to see what AI were actually be basing off of. Now, when I specifically put into the AI taking that exact photo and putting it into saying specifically the watercolor mountains with the light post, that's what the first one gave me. Pretty accurate to roughly the painting I made. With different areas, and they did have light posts, and it had some mountains, and it generally actually had the sun. Now, the bottom one, I tried to do one to create something using mine, but based on something else. So I chose Narnia, which is Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe, the whole collection of those particular books and movies. With the light post. Sorry. The light post is very important to Narnia. If you've ever read it or seen it or just ever seen anything about that, there's a light post in Narnia. So I wanted to see if it could create something using one reference photo. So I put my reference photo in, and these are the two things that generated. Not terrible, but I could not find a Narnia more expired theme. But this one's pretty accurate to a rough image of it. Using that same image in the AI generator, all I put this time was just watercolor. I wanted to see what it would take off of that particular thing. Will it keep the mountains? Would it keep the light post? Would it change the sun into a moon or the moon into a sun? And that's kind of what I've noticed. So with just the first three images and using the watercolor, they kept roughly the same color scheme. They added a lot more greens than I did. I just wanted more of like mountainy clouds, the tops of them when I made it. I threw in the light post again, just to mostly see what actually it would create if it would take that and put it in somewhere. But none did. They only specifically chose, and I even thought it was more moon-like in my paintings. It's also a little bit brighter on the camera. But they chose it to all be suns. They all chose it to have more of like a wispy white cloud form instead of being more blues. They did all change, and then they all did roughly take the same color scheme. It's just they added more landscape, and some, like the first one, it doesn't even really have as many mountains as I was expecting when I first put it in. Even the AI will have a general system based off of the original photo I gave it. Throughout this presentation, we already talked about a lot of the goods and the bads. It's creative, it has an imagination. You can use AI to enhance even human art, which I said, remember that I painted the most of it. I changed some of it through Photoshop for AI generated areas. As you can see, we changed the light post into a lighthouse, the sun more into, or I considered more of a moon into a moon. We added some AI mountains and we added an AI bird, which wasn't in any of the other references. I wanted to mix it up. Now, this is a collaboration of me and AI, making something I think actually looks really different and cool. You can enhance what the human image of art is. You can take it to do more than just a traditional anything, really. Like, we use AI or we use technology all the time as humans. We don't really distinguish what can or can't be done. We never establish what or can't be done. Honestly, people are always pushing the boundaries in a creative way of what one might actually be able to accomplish using technology. We already, the people who invented the airplane, the people who did computers, all of those areas were once just a thought, and now it's conveniently in our life in all times. You use it for marketing. You can get more marketing to very specific amount of people for the very specific item that they would want. It could even help solving problems. Using the AI technology, it could even help solving problems that we have in the world. Now, not all of those are always what people want, though. A lot of the bad is people think it could threaten the human creativity portion by taking over what is. This looks better than the original painting I had done. Is it taking away my creativity because it's doing it better? Not always, and sometimes yes. We can't ever say anything is good or bad. It's always a collective of both, especially when it's new and exciting. Can we create? Are we going to be able to create what it's done? But it can copy everything we have created, again, if not better. It has a lot of uncanny valley. A lot of people cannot not want to have that uncanny feeling. When you look at AI, it's not always 100% accurate, which then entails us not to fully want to look at it sometimes because it's uncanny. Again, it's used for marketing. Now, this could be good. I put this also in the good section. Good marketing is always going to be available. Marketing has always been a thing since things have been bought. But they're using it very specifically. They're using AI to very specifically get information off of people just then to market to them. It also goes with it taking data whether you know it or not. And there's a lot of people who fear the technology. So if you know a technology is watching you at all times and using it so then it can use it as a marketing ploy, you might not want to have that as an option that AI can even accomplish. There's a lot of people who still fear technology and the advancement of technology and don't like the fact that it takes data and doesn't like the different areas of what it can do, even if it's not doing it. It's possibly that it can do it. So overall, I don't even think 100% that AI should or shouldn't be used in art. I think it depends on the creator of the art making it, if that AI is being used. People will take a while to consider. I mean, we still are trying to consider computer art that is made by a person in a little non-traditional sense, making a traditional sense as art. So it's going to be a while before AI art is considered art, I believe. We have slowly adapted into what a creative aspect is art. A lot of people, even museums, unfortunately, still sometimes think of art as our traditional sense, and it's taking a while. It is happening. There still are more areas where we can adapt and add different areas of what art could be and where it should be. My quick sources reference. I thank you for listening and appreciate you being here and understanding where I am in how humans interact with the AI, mostly in the art form basis of can AI be art? I already established where I'm at in that yes, I believe it is art. I just don't think the main area is there yet to fully comprehend where art is, was, and should be, and where we could go from there. So thank you. Sorry it's a long video, and I hope you have a good day.